What's going on, Falcon fan? This your boy Rakundo come back at you with another video. Today we're gonna talk about the Atlanta Falcons offense, guys. It is has become an issue, and they got to get it fixed. And so the question is, how can they get it fixed? We're gonna talk about today. Of course, we know the Atlanta Falcons are back at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium this weekend playing the Miami Dolphins. The struggling Miami Dolphins team doesn't mean anything any given Sunday, and the Falcons need to practice like it's the Super Bowl. Make sure they come in and put their throat on this team and put them out of their misery. So that should be the game plan this weekend. So I'm not going to do any, keys to victory this week. We're going to talk about Atlanta Falcons offense issues because, in my opinion, I think that is what's going to help the Atlanta Falcons have the kind of season, remaining of the season that we want to have if they can fix these offensive issues that they continually having. So, with that being said, guys, you have not already, go ahead and please subscribe to the channel. Please hit that notification bell so you're not dropping another video. Please hit the like button so I know you guys are here to talk about. Then please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people come here and talk about. That's right, the Atlanta Falcons. So, guys, first thing we're going to do, we're going to get into the Atlanta Falcons injury report for this week. Like I said, they do have a game this week, so we're going to talk about injury report. Full participant today was Cardell Hodge, and Jordan Fuller, welcome back, and Storm Norton, welcome back as well. We did hear from the offensive coordinator this weekend, talk about Storm Norton. Still probably going to roll with Elijah Wilkinson in there, but of course this is um, a competition league. So Storm Norton is back full, and if he feel like if they give him a better option to put him at the right tackle position, they definitely would do that. I think Elijah Wilkinson had been playing really well, but that Sunday night game was not his best game. That probably his worst game of the season. So we'll definitely have to see how that pans out. This is definitely Thursday report. So yesterday, you guys watched the report. They did kind of walk through, so it wasn't really practice. It kind of walked through everything. Who had limited practice day was Darnell Mooney with a hamstring. Of course, Michael Penix Jr. was limited today, even though he did say he was going to play. It's like it's trending in direction. Um, Tyler Algier was limited. Mike Ford limited. Leonard Floyd limited, but it's not injury related, just a resting day. Jake Matthews, of course, was limited with that ankle, and then Felipe Franks with the calf, and D lineman Zach Harrison. All those guys are limited. I anticipate all those guys probably go this week, um, including yes, our young quarterback Michael Penix Jr., who did not practice today. Unfortunately, Duran Diablo, we heard about him fractured forearm, so he's going to be out. Depends on they decide to put him on IR or not, to how long that's going to take. Um, Jalen Walker, our two rookies, and Billy Bowman, those guys did not practice today, so probably our two rookies probably misses a second consecutive week going into the game against the Dolphins. And so for that linebacker position, Devon Diablo, I think, of course, that was a huge loss for us. I talked about JD Bertrand. He mentioned the day that he's been practicing, like five different positions. He said he think he, just narrowed it down to that one. He should play better. We'll definitely need to see. We need to see him stand up. But we did hear from defensive coordinator yesterday, Jeff Olbrook, talking about, you know, um, doing that position by committee based on what they're calling. We expect DeMarco Hellens back there, Jordan Fuller, Josh Woods, all those guys gonna get a chance to go in and play that role that we need. Depends on if it's coverage. You get to put a guy like DeMarco Hellens in there or Jordan Fuller for coverage. DeMarco Hellens, the other guy, can come down and be a hard hitter for us. We know what he was bringing in preseasons, and so he's back. So that's going to be good. But for that, fill in for Duran Diablo, it's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do with that position. But guys, that is your injury report for this week. Got, of course, a lot of guys limited. We knew when we were coming off that early bye, NFL's got to stay healthy. So you limit the many guys you can, make sure they get the game plan and come out and have to play. Michael Penix Jr. is not trying to give up the rings. However, if Michael Penix can't go for some reason, whatever, I think we all comfortable with Kirk Cousins coming in. I started off saying all season that Kirk Cousins is probably the best backup quarterback. So the fact that if we have to go, I think we still should be all right. So and then that where you probably will start the quarterback controversy, right? So there you have it, guys. Let me know if you got any questions about the the injury report for this week so far. We'll get it one more day to see where how everybody is trending, and then of course we'll get the inactives when it comes on Sunday. Hope to see all you guys at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Sunday because I'm gonna be ready to go, pumped up, cheering on our Atlanta Falcons. All right, guys. Next thing we're going to talk about, we're getting into these offense issues because it's really been a topic um, for this Atlanta Falcons team, big time. Really been a topic to this Atlanta Falcons team, big time. And it's an enigma when you talk about this Atlanta Falcons offense. And I'm going to talk about what I mean about that. So first thing we're going to talk about is just the offensive ranking. And this is what I means it's an enigma, right? When we talk about Atlanta Falcons, we talk about the offensive rankings, right? Atlanta Falcons is 6 or 7 in total yards on offense. So, which means the Atlanta Falcons are continually moving the ball up and down the field, right? So they have no problem with that, right? They have no problem moving the ball up and down the field. Rushing, they're first in rushing, and they're 13th in passing, right? So running the ball and passing the ball does not seem to be the issue for the Atlanta Falcons moving the ball down the field. Time possession, the Atlanta Falcons is second. So when you look at those numbers, or you look at 6 or 7 in total yards, first in rushing, 13th in passing, time possession is second across the board. That could constitute to winning football from an offensive standpoint, right? The issue is scoring, right? The Atlanta Falcons are in the bottom of the league in scoring offense. They do not put enough points on the board. So the fact that the Atlanta Falcons are able to move the ball down the field so well, for some reason they get in the red zone, they're not getting the job done. So that's where the numbers that when you look at the numbers, and you hear Raheem Morris said a lot, because when you do look at the stats, right? Say stats are for losers, because obviously if you're 6 and 7 in yards, first in rushing, second in time possession, and 13th, over halfway of the league in passing yards, it seemed like you should be able to put points on the board, but those things are not translating. And we're going to talk about the reason I think that a lot of reasons those things are not translating for the Atlanta Falcons. But that's why I feel like the Atlanta Falcons is an enigma, because the numbers look good. They look good, right? What number does not look good is scoring offense. So they're not able to put points on the board. And that's the name of the game, because you put points on the board, you're able to help out your defense. You help out the win, put that W in the win column. And that's not what's happening. So that's, in my opinion, is the first overall thing that Atlanta Falcons don't look at the numbers. So, and so it kind of is, cliche. He says it all the time, stats are for losers. When you look at this, you're like, man, why are they not better? And this tells you the reason is, it doesn't mean anything if you can move the ball up and down the field, but you're not putting points on the board. And that's what continues to happen for this Atlanta Falcons offense. It's just not delivering when it needs to. So that's one of the biggest issues, is that looking at offensive number is not translating to points, right? You second time possession, first in rushing yards, 13th and passing yards, 6 or 7 total, offense, and you're still not putting no points up. So until they fix that, that's going to be that Achilles heel, right? You got to translate this ranking into points. And if they do that, then they're going to be trending in the right direction. So you say, Ricondo, how can they translate, this great ranking that they have into points, right? One of the first things that we keep talking about for this Atlanta Falcons team is the play action passing game, right? Atlanta Falcons do not run play action pass enough. They just don't. They just don't. Right? We got a 6-game sample size. Now you listen to the coach, he'll make excuses about Some of the games got out of hand. The way the game is dictated, it kind of factors in the reason why um, he feel like the numbers are where they are. So two games you think about in particular. Well, you can put three games in you think are in particular, or let's just do all 6 games, right? Let's do all 6 games and try to figure out why the play action game is not going. So, in in the first game, Atlanta Falcons was not able to run the ball, right? Right. With that being said, so you go back into a more of a drop back game, because you can't run the ball. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers was real successful of stopping the run. So I guess to the offensive coordinator, it felt like that they was not able to do play action because the run was ineffective, right? So let's put that on the table. That's first game, right? Second game, right? They ran the heck out of the ball. I think they ran the ball for almost 220 yards in that game against the Minnesota Vikings. So the Minnesota Vikings decided to play too high shell, right? They invited the run game, and the Atlanta Falcons took advantage of it. They didn't have to run it. They did not have to run. They didn't have to run play action in that game because the running game worked so well. However, because it was working so well, you could have instituted the play action game. Maybe you would score more points in that game. Remember, they kicked 5 field goals in that game because when they got into the red zone, the game stalled. Maybe if you institute play action in that game, you create more explosive plays, you create more, and instead of kicking field goals in that game, you put that game way earlier because our defense was playing so well. So that's the Vikings game. Carolina game, of course, we're gonna say this outlier game, 100%. It got down so far. They went into a straight drop back game, and we know how that turned out. They got shut out in that game, right? The Commanders game, um, probably the game they probably ran the play action the most. The first 3 games, more than the first 3 games combined. Probably, if you look at that game, they probably ran the play action well, and you saw what the Atlanta Falcons was able to do, right? Running the play action in that game. Matter of fact, Kyle Pitts' touchdown was on a play action pass, right? You go back and look at that game, they faked it, and Kyle Pitts hold up like he was going to block, play action pass, touchdown. So you can see when you institute the play action pass, maybe that will institute into the running game. I mean, into scoring more points, right? Play action pass create explosive. Looking at the Atlanta Falcons being the #1 rush team in this league, you would think play action pass would be top of the mindset of the offensive coordinator, where at this point it is not, and that's not good. Now, a lot of people thinking that the reason why play action pass does not work as well with the Atlanta Falcons is the pistol, but I would say that they don't even run it enough to even come up with that conclusion, right? They don't run play action enough. I think the Atlanta Falcons is the lowest. The team ranked the lowest was not running the play action pass, right? They don't run it enough, and I know that they're in the pistol, but it's not because they're in the pistol, because they don't run it. I think if you look at somewhere, I read that it was 37 times they ran the play action pass this season. That's the least in the league, right? And if that's the case, you're not taking advantage of having a #1 rushing offense, right? Because if you got #1 rushing offense, teams know that you're a running team. But if you don't take away, that aspect and utilize the play action pass, it doesn't make any sense, right? And I think if Zach Robinson want to open up this offense, implement more play action, you do so well in the run game. Once you get that running game going, you have to take advantage, because it already hard to score in NFL, right? You create more explosive plays. You create those 20+ yard passes down the field because the running game is so dynamic. Those guys have no choice, but their first option is to step in to try to come in and stop Bijan or Tyler Algier, and then you can take advantage in the passing game. But for some reason, Zach Robinson refuses to utilize the play action pass, and I think that to me is the #1 reason that the Atlanta Falcons are not more successful putting up points, right? Like we just talked about it in the first bullet, where the Atlanta Falcons definitely 100% being able to move the ball down the field. So they don't have issues moving the ball. The problem is that they're not taking advantage of the skill set of the players that they got, because they're only using a version of it. You have to take advantage of being the number one rushing offense in the league. And how you do that is you got a quarterback can throw the ball all over the field, and you don't let him rip it enough, right? And invite those that confusion. You're utilizing the run game to set up your play action. Just don't run it enough. Like I said, he can talk about the numbers and all the other games, but the problem is the Atlanta Falcons have is not running the play action pass enough, right? You go to the Buffalo game, it was not necessary to run a play action pass. They won a lot of man coverage in that game, and we just ate them alive. But Drake London was real successful in that game. I think they might have ran play action more in that game. So the Commander game and the Buffalo game, you can see where if you start to utilize play action a little bit more, it actually works, right? That's what you want to see. Um, didn't have it enough in the San Francisco game, of course, right? They had a lot of man-to-man coverage in that game, right? That's one of the things that Michael Penix and Dak Robinson and the receiving core need to take advantage of. If teams going to stack 8 in the box and take away Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, they're going to go a little bit more man. That means now the receivers got to beat man-to-man coverage, and the quarterback needs to be able to put the ball where it needs to be, right? So play action pass is definitely something that the Atlanta Falcons definitely need to institute more. I ain't seen so many people talk about this. Um, I know one of the podcasters, Atlanta content creators, Aaron Freeman, talks about it all the time. That he hates the fact that Robinson does not run play action enough, and I agree with him 100%. This is getting an issue where there's no need to have a number one run offense if you're not going to take advantage of it, right? They know you want to run the ball, and they definitely gonna bite on you handling the ball to Bijan Robinson. Their first step is going to be towards the line of scrimmage. Their first step is going to be towards the line of scrimmage, right? And maybe he need to get up on the center more. I don't know. Like, I don't understand the whole infatuation with the pistol, and maybe that's why they don't run it as enough, because a lot of people think that you can't fake, fake the handoff as well in the pistol, and that could be the case, guys. I'm just saying, but Atlanta Falcons run the pistol more than anybody in this league as well. So you know they love running out of it, but at this point, something has to change. It's not working, um, and they really need to take a look at the issues they're having with the play action pass. So, guys, let me know what you think about that. I think that's one of the things that is really hurting Atlanta Falcons is the play action passing game. And if they can fix that, it'll be something special to see, something to behold, right? Um, my next point, and I think this right here is probably more of just it, football 101 when you talk about situational football. And to this point, the Atlanta Falcons have just not been really successful as they need to be in situational football. Right, this is something you have to rep over and over and over again. Now, interesting, I came in here the other day and I said they have ranked that play um, that they missed on the 4th and 1 in San Francisco game. Zach Robinson said they had never ran that play before, so that's neither here nor there. I know they ran a play similar to that, for a first down before in situational football, 3rd down or 4th down. But he said they had never ran that play before. So we're going to take a word for it. I haven't went play by play to see, exactly what each player was doing. Decide. I know they have ran a speed out before. I just know that. But I guess it was in a different formation, different motion, whatever. He said they had never ran it before. But situational football is what the Atlanta Falcons really need to hone in on, because this is really the name of the game. Situational football is the name of the game. And what I mean by that is that every team is professional. Every team works their butt off during the OTAs, during off season, during training camp. Each coach get paid, defensive coordinator, offensive coordinators. But situational football is where the game is won and lost. Situational football plays doing situational down the distances, parts of the games, 4-minute offenses, the red zones, right? The third down, fourth down. This is where coaches, players win and lose games. It's no other way to think about it like this. If you think about Sunday night game, the Atlanta Falcons get the 4th and 1, right? They get the 3rd and 1 prior to that, get the 4th and 1 after that. They might have a chance to go down and put points on the board. And this week we're talking about a whole different outcome this week with the Atlanta Falcons, right? A third and on the defensive side, a 3rd and 13 going into the end zone. The Atlanta Falcons was able to hold, the San Francisco offense on that play. Instead of giving up 13 yards for a first down, they only had 10 players on the field, right? Maybe they kick a field goal, and now we're only down 16-10. We have a chance to go down and win. What's going on 3:30? So situational football. So the Atlanta Falcons was not able to convert on their 4th and 1. Their 3rd and 1, their 4th and 1. It was not able to convert, right? Go back down. The San Francisco was able to convert on that 3rd and 13. Situational football. This is the name of the game. And until Zach Robinson and the Atlanta Falcons offense started to execute in these moments of the game, it's always going to be issues. Go back to the Buffalo game, right? They going down, driving down the field, getting ready to try to score a touchdown, right? Of course, we know what happened. Drake catch a slant. He almost gets in. Time run out. Get no points on the board. Now, they didn't cost us, right? Buffalo came back. They scored a touchdown, but then we shut them down, right? We won the game. This game we just had, Michael Penix make a great pass to Darnell Mooney. Darnell Mooney, we had one timeout. Instead of trying to go out of bounds to stop the clock, he tries to pick up some more yards and force Raheem Morris to call a timeout. So we lose our timeout. The next play, Michael Penix throws the ball out of bounds. 10 seconds left on the clock, 10-second runoff. No points. Those are two examples of situational football at the end of the half from an offensive standpoint where Atlanta Falcons are in prime position to put points on the board, and they come away with no points at all. Moving the ball, successful, they just run out of time because of the situations, stuff like that. Darnell Mooney got to get out of bounds in that play. You're not getting any more yards, right? Get out of bounds. You save that timeout. Now, Michael Penix throw the ball away and don't get out the tackle box. That they can utilize the timeout. Still got 10 seconds on the clock. Now they can kick a field goal, put points on the board before the halftime. If Drake know he's not gonna make it, get out of bounds or get down, kick the field goal, put points on the board. So we won't go away from the half not getting points on the board. Like I said, the Buffalo game, that did not hunt us. The San Francisco game, I think it did because we lost momentum in that, right? We get points on the board in the end of the half, right? We come out with momentum. Situational football is always about situational football. And right now, the Atlanta Falcons, from an offensive standpoint, their situational football is what's killing them, right? You can go back to last year, right? Commanders game. Michael Penix hit Darnell Mooney down the field for a great pass. Instead of calling timeout, they run up like 15 seconds. We all know this, right? We got to wait till they call the timeout, right? Try to kick a field goal. The kicker we got in can't kick the ball over 50 yards, right? It comes up short. We lose that game in overtime. We could have won it in regulation if Raheem Morris called timeout in that play, right? Put more time on the clock, get us in better field goal range. We keep the field goal, win the regulation. Now we go into the last game of the season, still with the lead in NFC South, playing the Carolina Panthers instead of down the game, needing the Saints to beat the Bucks for us to go to the playoffs. Like these are things what I'm talking about, and this was on the offensive side of the field. Now we can talk about defense because defense was atrocious last year, right? I think that's what made us lose some of those games, right? But from an offensive standpoint, this is where teams just separate good teams from mediocre teams to bad teams. When you don't do well in situational football, this is why Atlanta Falcons are hurting themselves, right? Third down, fourth downs, in the halves, right? I can say this: that Buffalo game, that 4-minute offense that the Atlanta Falcons ran in that fourth quarter was brilliant, right? I mean, that's textbook. They got the ball with 6 something minutes left. They drove the ball down the field. They made Buffalo use all their times out. Then they kicked the field goal, right? Up 10. That's situational football. That's how you win games, right? That 4-minute offense which is a brilliant display on offense. So it's there. We can see that it's there, but it's inconsistent. And until the Atlanta Falcons figure the situational football out, this is where it's hurting us, right? We talked about the play action pass. They need to institute that more. That's really killing them. Not enough play action. The lowest in the league in play action pass. When you're the number one running offense, right? You got the number one rushing offense. You don't run play action enough, right? Now we're talking about situational football, which probably loses and win games for most teams in this league, right? Now going forward on fourth down, of course, now they use analytics more than anything, but of course that's the coach's decision, and you're going to be, a, be lauded for it, or you're going to be like criticized for it the next day. If it don't work, if it works, you're going to like, good job, right? Like so, if they throw that speed out to Drake, he catch the ball, they go down and score. Nobody's going to talk about they should have ran B. John, they should have ran Tyler, they should have did all that because it worked, right? Now you can question everything if it don't work, right? You be like, they could have did this because it didn't work. They're here nor there. They need to figure it out, right? If you go back and look at some of the best coaches in situational footballs, Sean Payton's, right? The Andy Reid's, those guys been there and they some reason they can figure it out. The Sean McVay's, right? The Kyle Shanahan who just played, those guys know how to call plays to set the defenses up so they can actually, offenses have advantage all the time, especially now in today's game, right? If you can set those natural picks, right? Andy Reid's really good at it, setting natural picks when he call plays and things like that. Sean McVay is really good. Like I said, Sean Payton is really good. But some coaches just still, not 100% sure if they play is going to work. These things that we know they drill this week in and week out. They do red zone, they do third down, they do short yardage, right? And for some reason it seemed like it does not work. So this is in my opinion one of the most important things that the Atlanta Falcons offense need to look at, right? It's probably need to be something that they talk about more and more and more, situational football, right? It's better this year than it was last year, especially for the head coach Raheem Morris. He done a whole lot better. Utilize the timeout and things like that. But you do have a young quarterback, so you're going to expect some issues here, i.e., not getting out of the tackle box, throwing the ball away, things like that. But obviously, seems like the Atlanta Falcons coaching staff got a lot of confidence in Michael Penix Jr. to even put the ball in his hand in those situations. But you just got to be able to execute, man, and that's not what's happening, right? You go back to the Jets game, and everybody looking at Justin Fields, and the coach punting the ball because he don't want to put the ball in Justin Fields' hands at the end of the half. Then you got the star wide receiver asking like, "What are we doing? Why we ain't trying to win the game?" And because obviously they don't trust the quarterback. That's why they did. That's why they did that. So obviously they do trust Michael Penix. So that's what it is. So that to me is 100%. I said one of the main reasons is play action. Situation of football is universal around all teams, right? If you go back, and they probably should do some analytics on this, right? You go back and look at situation of football, down the distance, and stuff like that. You probably can see the teams that execute in these situations better, probably more successful than the teams that don't. That's just the way it is, right? Okay, so what's going on, Eddie? 330 said, I didn't agree with the stunts and then give them so much room in the middle of the field. You talking about on the defensive side of the ball, I'm assuming, right? Yeah, I just didn't like Jeff Aubrey game plan against the San Francisco 49ers. And in my opinion, 100%, um, they let 49ers do what they wanted to do in that game. And one of the things that they did, they let Christian McCaffrey um, get the ball too many times, too many touches. So they let Kyle Shanahan do exactly what we wanted to do. Now you can say Kyle Shanahan dictated the game, whatever, but man, I don't know what kind of game plan he was. He was like, yeah, he going to get his. Like, no, he's not getting his. Like, we stopping him from getting his, and if somebody else beat us, then that's what it is. But that's not what Jeff Albrecht decided to do. And in the end, it came back and hurt the defense at the end of the day. Christian McCaffrey had a great game against the Atlanta Falcons. Right, he kind of did what Bijan Robinson been doing to our opponents. So it kind of got what the 49ers did. It's kind of like what Atlanta Falcons have done to a couple of teams this year. Matter of fact, in the 3 wins the Atlanta Falcons have, that's exactly what Bijan Robinson has been doing to them. So there you have it. All right, guys. The last thing I want to talk about when we talk about offense issues or how they can fix is the quarterback play. We got another comment here. They should have stacked the box and focus on the run with man coverage, one coverage, disguise. Yes, they should have did it. Whatever they decided to do. It didn't work, and I agree. The game plan was just terrible. Um, I don't know what they was thinking about, but whatever game plan that he came in, it wasn't the right game plan. So that's just the way it is. So that's the fact. All right, but let's go into one of the reasons why this offense is kind of missing, what is really missing. And one of the main things is the quarterback play. 100% the quarterback play. And Michael Penix is not playing bad. He's not playing bad. Right? But Michael Penix got 5 touchdown passes and 3 interceptions. That's it. That's all he got on the season. Right? So it's not like he's lighting up the board. But he's not playing bad, because if we go back and look at what you want your quarterback to do, you want a quarterback that don't lose the game for you. That means don't turn the ball over and put the ball in harm's way. And he has not been doing that this season. Now he has had some turnover-worthy throws, right? That the defender didn't catch and things like that. But for the most part, Michael Penix has not put the ball in harm's way. And if you go back and look, his fourth quarter stats has really been good. Right, he has been one of the best quarterbacks in the fourth quarter throughout his since he's been playing quarterback. Of course, take away the Carolina game, but every other game, Michael Penix has played really well in the fourth quarter. Right, just got to figure out that that second and that third quarter is where we have the lulls the most for the young quarterback. But the quarterback play um, has to get better. Now, this is where us as fans, and we know the coaching staff and the organization is behind Michael Penix. They think and they feel like he's the future of the franchise, so they're going to give him the grace that's needed that he needs, right? But as fans, we need to do the same. And what I mean by that is it's going to be some growing pains, right? Go back and look at the situation with the you not getting out of the tackle box, right? You got to be able to, you know that, but you got to say, well, hey, you ever been put in that situation before, so you're gonna learn by how you by playing, right? Um, and he only had 9 starts so far, so he hasn't had a full season yet. Um, and I always go back to some of the greats, right? You can't go off, recency bias because, um, yes, CJ Stroud came out and played really well his first season. Jaden Daniel came out and played really well his first season. But you can see how CJ Stroud have regressed, right? Because there's enough tape on him now, right? They starting to figure CJ Stroud out a little bit. Of course, his team around him is not as good as it used to be, weapons and things like that, offensive line, et cetera, right? But he he's he's not playing as good as he was his first season. Jaden Daniels starting to get injured, which you kind of probably could figure with a running quarterback running around a lot and stuff like that, right? Um, you look at a guy like Kyler Murray, the running quarterback. So I don't like look at recency stuff, right? I like to go back in historical stuff, historical quarterbacks, and look at how it took those guys time and what they turned into. And I don't like to compare our young quarterbacks to these guys, but this is where you let these guys play and you let them play until they figure it out, right? And one of the guys that I love to talk about is Peyton Manning, and because he still leads the league in history as throwing the most interception as a rookie quarterback, and not one time did Indianapolis Colts feel like they was going to sit him down, right? They knew he was their guy. They was going to roll with him, and look what he turned into, right? 5 MVPs, still the most, still the most ever for a quarterback, right? 5 MVPs. That's the sheriff, Peyton Manning, right? Not comparing Michael Penix to Peyton Manning, but my point is that you gotta let these guys play. You gotta let them make mistakes and grow. You can see the traits there. You can see the potential, right? You're gonna see the issues that they have, but you also see where he has some some brilliance there as well, right? So we have to get a guy time to play, right? And this goes back to the offensive coordinator. You got to help your guy out, right? I talked about my first point was play action pass. If you institute more play action pass, that helps your quarterback make easier throws, right? Because now you got the linebackers pushing up on your running back. Your safety's taking a step in, thinking trying to stop the run, and then you throw over their head. You think your pass catchers get a step or jump on these guys because they're looking at the run first, right? You need to help your quarterback out, right? So this is one of the things right now. Michael Penix is not where we want him to be, not just yet, right? And we got to have time. We got to give him grace and figure out that. Now, we don't know if Zach Robinson is going to be able to get it there, like I said, because he got to do a better job of helping his quarterback out, setting him up. Right now, one thing we look at, number one in rushing, so we're a running team right now. That's good for a young quarterback, but you got to give him good throws, right? I talked about hot reads. I don't see any hot reads when they brush coming with 5, you only got 4 blocking, and coming with 6, you only got 5 blocking, right? Somebody got to be on the hot. You got to be able to get the ball out, right? Because you see the pressure coming, right? I see the pressure coming, got to get rid of the ball. I know where to go with it because this is my hot. The receivers and the quarterback got to be on the same page with that, right? I don't see that in this offense. If it's in his offense, it ain't been happening, right? Those are some of the things that we got to be able to to have growth with a young quarterback. And then, you know, what happened to him on Sunday, not getting an tackle box, we'll see. I don't know if he'll make that mistake again. Probably won't make that mistake again. But quarterback play is an issue. Now, this is interesting because I know a lot of people like put Kurt in, he better. I really believe because I think Kirk Cousins is healthy now, right? He kind of locked us last year. We all pissed off about that, but I believe that this offense will probably be smoother with Kirk Cousins in there. I'm just saying because he's more experienced right now. He's more experienced, and I believe that because of his experience, this offense probably will flow a little bit more with a Kirk Cousins in. But you got to think about the future. And if Kirk Cousins is not your future and you think Michael Penix your future, you got to let him play through this. And that's when I look at. I look at it like I said, Indianapolis Colts, they knew Peyton Manning was their future. They just let him play. You got to do the same thing with Michael Penix. I want to go to the playoffs. I want this team to win, but we need to find out. This is the year the Atlanta Falcons need to find out if Michael Penix can be the guy. And pulling him out right now, because of the inexperience and still not where he needs to be just yet, it's not going to help him. You got to let him play, man. He only had 9 starts. Let him get a full season in, and let's see the progression as he goes, right? Because I think we put Kirk Cousins in, I think he's going to look good. Kirk Cousins is healthy, and if you go back and look before he got hurt, because now we know that New Orleans Aints game where he got hurt, that's when he started to go downhill. That's when he started to go downhill. I know everybody recall that, right? So he stays 100% healthy. I believe he is, right? You don't have that whole off season, that Achilles, 2 years removed. I think he'll play better, right? And I believe that, you put a veteran in, he's going to be able to see some of the stuff that Michael Penix just not seeing just yet. He's going to get there. But, I think you got to let Michael Penix play, which I mean by now us as fans need to take the same approach that the organization is taking, is that you're going to have patience with the young quarterback. And I'm not saying we're going to have a lost season, but it might not be the season that we all envision, because we just want Michael Penix to come out and be like, ready to go right out the bat. And that's not realistic, man. This does not happen. Does not happen. No, it's rare, right? Like I said, in recency bias, we have seen it a couple of times. But for the most part, these young quarterbacks, it takes time. If you go back and look at the MVP, Josh Allen, his first season, nobody thought Josh Allen was going to turn into what he is now after his first season, right? But look at him now, right? Lamar Jackson, 2 MVPs later, right? But Lamar Jackson had become a better passer and everything because of the time that he had put into it, right? Everybody can't be Patrick Mahomes, right? Come out and, had never not been to AFC Championship. Everybody cannot be Patrick Mahomes. That's unrealistic. Everybody can't be Tom Brady, once he got in, 10 times went to the Super Bowl, 7 Super Bowl wins. And that's not realistic in the NFL. But if you want a franchise quarterback, you got to let him grow. And this is where we're at from Atlanta Falcons standpoint. We got to let our young quarterback grow, right? So, but it's an incumbent of a really good offensive coordinator to help him grow, right? If Michael Penix had a Sean Payton as his coach, he might be farther along than he is right now. Right? They had a Kyle Shanahan. He might be farther along than he is right now. Right? Because those guys know how to get young quarterbacks and groom them and help those guys develop. Right? He had an Andy Reid. He might be farther along. Zach Robinson is still young, offensive coordinator. and we'll just see where it goes from there. But um, I'm just saying, as a, let's give the guy time, man. We seen flashes, man. We seen flashes of what he can potentially be. But right now he's still lacking in areas, right? Missing some throws. Like I said, situation sometimes he's not doing what he need to do. Some of the throws he make, you like, okay, what was that, right? Um, Maybe not seeing the field as he need to, rushing a little bit, not going through the progressions as all the way like he need to. So some of those things is going to take time, but we got to give him time. Now, with all that being said, um, if Zach Robinson decides to take a job in college, like his alma mater, Oklahoma State, right? Because it seems like they might need a head coach. And if he decides to go move on, now the Atlanta Falcons can bring in an offense coordinator. Um, Look at Mike McDaniels, right? Because you know he might be out. He might be on his way out the door um, in Miami as a head coach, but he could definitely still be a really good offensive coordinator. So that could be somebody that the Atlanta Falcons decide to bring in a Mike McDaniels, um, maybe even a Grubbs, Michael Penix's old offensive coordinator from Washington, who's right now the offensive coordinator for the Alabama Crimson Tide, but right, coming back to the NFL because remember he was in NFL with Seattle, right? And they decided to let him go. You bring him in with Michael Penix, who Michael Penix knows very well, who put up all those tremendous numbers in Washington. He knows what Michael Penix's strengths are already. Somebody like that come in and we can see him take off and really, really go to the next level. So it's things that you can think about. But if the Atlanta Falcons is going to, put their self, in the Michael Penix, um, you know, that he's our guy, Terry Fontenot, and tie themselves to him, then they got to give him time and they're going to let him grow. So that's what it really going to boil down to. So let's see what some of these comments right here. That adjustment could have easily happened in the game. And you talking about defense is still, yeah, man, they could definitely fix the stop Christian McCaffrey, man. Dude, there say it's hard to grow under incompetence. Yeah, man. That's see, and that's what I'm saying. Like, and I said that I don't know if Zach Robinson is the right guy for him, right? I don't know if he's gonna let him put him in the right situations, right, to be where he needs to go. We just don't know, right? Zach Robinson seemed like he know what he's doing, but man, it's just not. I don't know if it's conducive because I think the biggest problem with this Atlanta Falcons offense, and I'm about to let it go here, but the biggest problem with this Atlanta Falcons offense is um, what we thought we was going to see. Explosive plays down the field. Michael Penix, displaying his big arm that he has. That's not what we seen. We seen it last year, right? We seen so many explosive plays from Michael Penix last year. And we're not seeing none of that this year. And that's what's so confusing and we don't understand what's happening. It seemed like he took a step back from his 3 games last year to this season. Now it could just be more film and how defenses are playing and things like that, but it doesn't seem the same. It just does not seem the same. So whatever it is, the Atlanta Falcons need to fix it. They really do. Right. But if you go back and look at things I think that can fix it real easily is that play action passing game. Play action passing game. I think if they institute that more into their offense, I think it'll definitely help out the Atlanta Falcons a lot. The situational football stuff, man. If they get that down, because that's really where where Atlanta Falcons have really lost some of their games in just situations, right? If we go back to the Tampa game, If we win situational football there, we win that game, right? That San Francisco Sunday night football, we win the situation, we win that game. So I think the Atlanta Falcons really need um, to just go do the deep dive in what they're doing. You know, it's hard to do it in the middle of the season, but they need to do some soul searching, man. I mean, just go back and do what you did the first 3 games when Michael Penix start, and we like that more because we just imagine we're going to see more of that, and we have seen less of that this year, and maybe the trade deadline is November 4th. To see they can bring some help in at the receiver position. Right now they just cut Ray McLeod, so maybe they could bring some help in at the receiver position to help this offense be more explosive. Just never know. So guys, let me know what you think about the things I had to say today, um, about the offensive issues and how can they fix it. Um, what you think that could happen more. I think one of the biggest things that we definitely need to see, Michael Penix, to help his growth is being better when they go man to man. I think more teams going to do that because it's put on film that he has struggled with man to man. The receivers have struggled with man to man. So we might see more and more of that. But I'm telling you, if you institute play action pass with that man to man, you might come out on being in a better situation. And that's just the way I think about it. So, guys, give me your thought. Please go ahead and share this video through all the other um, Falcon fans out there and through the YouTube universe. And there you have it. This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. Peace.